anyway. But speaking of going onto the server, we're going to do just that for you guys at home. This is the second to last matchup for today. It's going to be the first map between Av3k and cha1n, and it will be on Vale. And let's see exactly what shenanigans these guys are going to be up to, starting off from Av3k's POV.
Big delay of the Mega by Av3k. I think cha1n is going to be aware of that though, so it should not take him by surprise. But I like the confidence from Av3k right there. You don't delay your starting item if you're not confident in your own ability to get the upper hand in that first cycle, or to at least not lose out on the status quo. Now Heavy is about to spawn, cha1n actually giving up on it completely. Now Av3k is definitely in the better position to make a move for it. cha1n went to pick up the LG. He was still lacking that weapon, and of course without it, there's very little you can do if a player drops on top of you. This is a very interesting start to this map. Mega and Heavy have both been up for quite a while, and that is a beautiful rocket by Av3k. Plays it safely though, I like that. I like that. Curbs his aggression for a perfect read instead. Beautiful. Down goes cha1n. Av3k knew exactly what he was going for right there.
Yeah, good read, good weapon selection as well. Didn't get overzealous and just go the same route. Av3k is available, but of course hasn't got a rail to his name as of yet. Av3k's going to be okay, just replenishing his LG ammo. Good little rocket there, 59. He's going to see if he can get a little bit more done, but he's still got the angle to stop him from going for that Mega, but because of that first rail miss, it does mean that cha1n will pick up for himself, and he can continue to challenge if he likes. It just depends on if he can make the right read or select the correct path. Good rocket again, looking to try and get another great rocket comes out from cha1n, and it's going to be all tied up.
cha1n getting away with a bit of a miracle right there. Rocket jump did not go the way he intended, yet still he was able to walk onto the Mega and secure it for himself. But now Av3k is looking good. Ooh. Lethal, what is happening with these rocket jumps today? We've seen it from Max, we've seen it from cha1n, we've seen it from Av3k. There's quite a few fumbles when it comes to the RJs. Yeah. Luckily, no harm, no fall. Av3k's still looking really comfortable right here. Good use of the orb by cha1n right there.
Yeah, there's been a few debatable rocket jumps, you know, a few question marks here and there. And it has cost a few frags in the past, and has done also in this matchup, with Av3k now still with a slight lead in terms of stack. Not anymore after cha1n recovering around that rocket area, picking up those lights, and Av3k's now just standing his ground, just waiting for the opportune moment to try and get a bit of chip done, but also at the same time not giving cha1n room or the ability to try and close the gap in terms of scoreline here. Good use of the LG as well. Av3k just biding his time, just holding these angles and wait for cha1n just to approach him at an offshore angle. But even then though, cha1n is falling for it both times, and this is exactly what Av3k needs to do. It's another great way of doing chip if you're not really looking to place any kind of rail damage down. Speaking of that though, does miss that first rail, looking to try and hit the second, doesn't hit the second in the end. And it seems like you were talking about the rocket jumps, how people have been fumbling them. Seems like the rails have been fumbled a little bit on the first map, a lot of these series here today also.
cha1n has gone without railgun for quite a while. He has managed to pick it up, but hasn't had it in his arsenal for a lot of this map. He's only fired 3 shots, managed to hit 2 out of them. Which is quite telling, because Av3k has fired 7 shots and also only hit 2 of them. So as you said, some fumbles with the railgun. And the next major item is the Heavy. cha1n had the better positioning on it, but what a messy exchange. The orb actually sent him falling down the bounce pads. Av3k completely lost sight of him, but is in much, much better shape. cha1n taking some damage from the totem going through the portal right there. And now Av3k is looking supremely confident. Just look at the stack he has. He doesn't have any of his totems up, that he doesn't need them when he's got this much armor, this much health to work with.
Yeah, he's living the life of Riley right now. He's got the stack, he's got the free frag lead, he's got positioning, he's got a height advantage, And he's got the timing of both of these items and just keeping cha1n at bay. You'd think this should be, again, a role reversal, because it should be the Galena going around, you know, the rail area, or, you know, Rocket's just keeping those totems alive to have that overstack Galena on, but it's actually been the complete opposite. It's actually been Av3k just holding these portals and just keeping his distance, and also at the same time knowing that cha1n at some stage will have to come towards him, but Av3k's not going to push in unless he's got a decent advantage in terms of percentage here, but he's going to take his time, and so he should. Good LG damage as well, not mucking around there. 5-1, 4.5 minutes left, picks up another heavy, and due to the fact that he hasn't taken much damage from the previous engagement, he can just continue with the aggression here. Just needs to try and stick wherever he can. Takes the first rail, cha1n misses the second, and this could be time for Av3k to maybe re-rotate round and catch him.
I love how Av3k has really just been playing around the items, always keeping himself in a position where he can fall back on it first, but not just sitting on it and not really making it the main part of his strategy either. He'll hover around Mega, but then he'll use it as an essential command center to just drop down and make a push on cha1n. Doesn't mind leaving Mega up for 10-15 seconds if it allows him to apply pressure and just fall back on it when he needs it. So he's got this beautiful rotation in his head that he's working around. And the orb falls a little short. That is going to allow Av3k yet another frag. Surely he's going to pressure this one. Indeed, he will, knowing very well that he has the Mega to fall back on and that cha1n is in no position to make a move for it. The orb had been burned, so the Canadian player really had nothing to add to his mobility. And that gives Av3k a lot of comfort in just striking from a position that he's comfortable in.
And you can see as well, Av3k's just playing a lot of mind games here with his positioning, just trying to catch him off guard, being unpredictable with the pushes he makes. And cha1n's always repositioning himself in order to try and not fall for any escapades that Av3k's approaching with at the moment. But now shoes on the other foot here. cha1n's the... was going to say cha1n's the one with the advantage here, but it looks like both of them are going to be equal in terms of stack. It's just cha1n's going to have the height advantage. But at this point, Av3k's probably thinking to himself, you can have whatever you like. I've got the stack now. Just going to be a matter of time before he try and closes this map out. cha1n's the one who has to try and approach him. 2.5 minutes left to try and find 7 frags. It's going to be a very difficult task at hand.
Oh, that's a good rocket. That's an opportunity for cha1n. Time is not his ally right now, but should be able to pick up heavy, make his way over to the Mega. Actually, he's leaving Mega up. He wants to hurt Av3k because he knows that he can't delay this comeback much longer. Now, looking at the items lethal, 18 majors for Av3k versus just 9 held by cha1n, literally double, going the way of the Polish Prince. That just shows how dominant Av3k has been controlling the flow of this map.
Yeah, and it's the fact that you were talking about before where he wouldn't be in positions where he normally would be when contesting some of his items, which is throwing cha1n off a little bit here. But cha1n, though, hits the first rail, but it's not going to be enough to turn the tide, as Av3k's just going to stand his ground and pick up that Mega. Good first rail. cha1n's going to push straight in, tries to hit one, which he does, but it's not going to stop Av3k hitting a second. So now cha1n looking for that rail spawn, just rotating around for the LG up to the TP. But Av3k's going to be more than happy to take that fight, especially with him going up on the jump pad. Not too much with the orb, but good rail shot from cha1n, but he needs to try and get a second if he can. Looks like he's not even going to bother, but time is, like I said, not his ally. So 50 seconds left. Avic's already picked up that Mega, and it's now going to be curtain call for cha1n, as Av3k will win this one 1-0.
Yeah, at this point, there's really not much that cha1n can still do. Looks like he will even drop a few more frags. Av3k, just too commanding of the control he had on the map, started doing that very early on as well. And then, just as I discussed earlier, so calculated in how he took many of these fights. being aggressive without giving up solid footing. And that really is one of Av3k's greatest strengths. He can play a super aggressive game, constantly applying pressure, while never giving up the advantageous position on the map. One of his biggest strengths, and it was something that was just too much for cha1n to deal with this time around. So a well-deserved win by Av3k, continuing the trend. Let's see if cha1n can turn it around, and if his solid performance, his tremendous performance against Dramis last week can continue today as well.
And look at this though, Av3k had 24 items to the 10 of cha1n. And it's not even just that though, it's the damage inflicted with the LG, as cha1n only had 600, but Av3k 2053. I did get the feeling that LG just never left his hands from the get-go, but it's like you said, it's the positioning he held and the angles he held as well when contesting these items. Normally you'd expect him to be top tribal, or top of the TP, or just hanging around looking to make that rotation round towards the rail rim, but he just sat there on bottom TP, just holding everything, just waiting for him to come at him. He knew that cha1n was going to approach him eventually, but that's where I kind of felt that there was no way that cha1n could come back in that matchup. Av3k was... The chaos was there, but the problem is the fact that Av3k just really bided his time. He wasn't really too bothered or too overzealous with some of the cleanups he wanted to initiate. He just knew that forward at some point, cha1n is an aggressive player. He will try and make that initial move. It's just a matter of time before he can continue to collect those frags to his name. 10-2, not too shabby.
Absolutely not. Av3k flying out of the gates. Exceptional start. Now map 2. Be a very different change of pace. Corrupted Keep, where we're getting to see the BJ played by Av3k versus the cha1n ran by cha1n. Now that's going to be interesting, right? Because we've got cha1n on the one hand, the deployable champion, able to drop down that turret, gives you a lot of information about the whereabouts of your opponent, plus serves as a great distraction and an extra source of damage mid-fight. But then on the other hand, you've got Av3k running the BJ, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, it's actually the opposite. No, wait. Av3k is running the cha1n and cha1n is running the BJ. My mistake, I was looking at the lobby where players were not yet switched to their proper champions, but indeed, Av3k running the cha1n, and then cha1n will counter with the BJ Blazkowicz. So he's got that sudden boost in damage, the spike coming out from the dual wield, which can prove to be extremely powerful on smaller maps like Corrupted Keep.
That's right, and it's been another trend, isn't it? I think it's been a key word here. Corrupted Keep again. It's been a lot of people's favourites here, or just selecting it due to the fact that better maps have been taken away from. But for Corrupted Keep, they'll have to see. Do you know what? Actually, I just thought about it as well. We're talking about the LG damage and the accuracy from Av3k. You've got to be severely worried for cha1n. Don't get me wrong, who has server advantage, but the problem is going to this matchup, the way Av3k's been playing and how well he's been performing with what he's been doing in terms of the rotations he's been making and the adaptation as well. That LG is going to be a huge amount to play here, and even with the bigger stack, I do worry for cha1n on a lot of situations depending on where he positions himself on the map.
Yeah. Now, no champion really has anything to speak of in terms of movement, right? So that should at least help the player on the back foot have a slightly easier time making a comeback happen, right? In comparison to, say, you're playing Galena versus Strog, if you then fall a few frags behind and you're down to the final minute or two, you're fighting a tremendous uphill battle because your opponent is so much faster than you. So that is not going to happen this time around. So we might see a little bit less of a snowball happening on Corrupted Keep, which is typically a very snowball-heavy map. But still, like you said, Lethal, I share your concern. cha1n is going to have to be very, very careful here, because if Av3k gets just set up on the map, has got that turret to the position that he wants it, and is cycling the items in a similar way to the previous map, then I really don't know what's going to happen. So cha1n, I think he's got to start coming off aggressively right off the bat, not be put himself on the back foot.
Yeah, I think he knows what needs to be done as well. We're just going to reset the lobby, so just a slight delay before we go to the second map here. At least it will give cha1n some time to collect his thoughts and decide what he needs to do. But what do you feel like cha1n needs to do compared to what we saw on Veil? We know that from Veil, completely different map entirely in terms of verticality. The size obviously quite similar, but again, it's all about keeping his distance, getting the chip damage with the heavy machine gun. Do what Av3k does as well and try and catch your opponent with the LG. We've seen that quite a lot today. In comparison to what we've seen in previous weeks, just something just a little bit different, really, entirely. We have seen it, of course, in past seasons, of course, but we've seen it a lot more often in comparison. So is there anything you'd probably say to cha1n to say exactly how he can try and recover, especially when it's been on his server as well?
I mean, I think that the most important thing that he has to do going into this is try to avoid those mid-range LG fights, right? We saw just how powerful Av3k was with the lightning gun. You mentioned it yourself, an enormous disparity in terms of lightning gun damage. So for cha1n, I think he's in a position where he should not go for these head-to-head battles unless he can come out swinging and he can just pull out the dual LG, has got that upper hand over his opponent before the fight even starts. Other than that, I think he should be banking more on setting up traps, going for the rockets, playing with the shotgun out, and just prevent Av3k from getting into that rotation, right? He's got to know by now that Av3k is looking to apply pressure and that Av3k is not just going to sit pretty waiting for the item to spawn. He's going to hover around it, check all of his entrances, all the exits, and he's even going to go far out into the map knowing that he can fall back on the item. So cha1n needs to be aware of that, and he needs to calculate it into his battle plan.
Yeah, it certainly does indeed. It just means that it needs to be a lot more proactive compared to what we saw in that previous matchup, which there's no reason why cha1n would anyway, and should be able to, considering what we've seen. We know it's quite a long time ago when he had a little bit of a spur of the moment in the early stages of Season 2. Not going into Season 3. We know he's got other commitments, but he does do his very best to perform at the best of his ability with the amount of practice he can put in also. So cha1n just standing his ground for now, just got the nail in hand. Looking to see if he can at least get Av3k to flinch in some way, but not a huge amount as of yet. Has denied him the weapons so far. It's a matter of how cha1n is going to go about doing this.
Av3k working with the high ground right now. cha1n trying to do the best he can with that nail gun. Ultimately will fall short right there, and this is exactly what the Canadian did not want to happen. But now Av3k, he's got all the weapons he needs. cha1n pushing in aggressively with the shotgun, does quite a bit of damage. And there's still 15 seconds before the next major item, so that was a good push by cha1n. Yes, he gave up a frag, but he is stopping the snowball somewhat. He just needs to not get blindsided right now. Both players extremely weak, and cha1n gets the drop on Av3k. Beautiful. Now racing over to the heavy. Good decision by cha1n. I think he heard the machine gun fire. He realized exactly where Av3k spawned, and he wanted nothing to do with that heavy. But of course, that puts him in a very precarious situation right now. It's a good thing that cha1n is still doing so much damage every single time he dies, right? Even though he gives up a frag, he always puts Av3k at a stack where he can't just dominate everything the way he did on map 1.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? The less clean the duels are for your opponent, the more chance you're going to be able to trade out, aren't you? So this is what cha1n is looking for. Great direct from Av3k, though. That's going to give him at least a little bit more of a chance to try and continue to engage. But after that last rocket, though, all the turret at least comes into effect. It does take down cha1n once again. Now 4-1 after just 2 minutes of play here. And this was a big talking point I mentioned in the past, where some people or some players, they make really good use of the ISM, and there's some players who just, it makes you think to yourself, why did you even use the ISM in the first place? Because they don't really get much out of the turret. But it seems like Av3k isn't going to be one of them. And we're going to see exactly what he's going to do next. Just trying to keep his distance for now. Just using that turret just to give himself a little bit of a helping hand here. Does have the heavy machine gun to use if cha1n does decide to back off and keep his distance. But it looks like he's given Av3k a chance here to recover, whilst heavy is going to be picked up any second now. Av3k's going to get a rough estimate as in the timing whilst he picks up that mega.
Av3k is definitely making good use out of the turret, helping him out massively. Even if it's not doing all that much damage or getting the frag for him, it still provides such a good barrier against cha1n's aggression, right? That's what we just saw in that previous engagement. If Av3k didn't have the turret to work with, cha1n would have just pushed him with the shotgun and in all likelihood walked away with the frag. But because Av3k was able to just shut down that doorway with the turret, cha1n was unable to push him off the spawn and couldn't make the move that he intended on making. So solid use of the turret, definitely an added value for Av3k this time around, and cha1n needs to find a way to get around it. I also like that Av3k is holding on to the turret. You know, he's not just placing it down randomly, hoping to get a little bit of information out of it here or there. He's consistently saving it for when the fight actually breaks out, or just before.
Can we talk about stats a little bit here, Flea? I think we might have to. LG, in terms of damage, Av3k 1001, cha1n 0. So he's not had a single bit of damage done with the LG. That's probably because of the fact that Av3k has denied him the LG on a number of occasions. But yeah, just absolutely a balmy stat. I had to throw it out there. I was actually shocked you didn't actually point out yourself, Flea. You are the stat man himself, so I was quite surprised by that. But it's all right. I've got you covered anyway. It's Av3k now.
Thanks, man.
Standing his ground top mid, waiting for him or down to go for that mega, but did a nice chunk of damage. A nice little direct as he's approaching that mega, which makes it technically obsolete. Looking to see if we can do a bit more raining rockets down. Turret comes down also, just making enough mystery for cha1n, but cha1n's the one manages to come back, gets to heavy. As you can see now, in terms of stats, not looking too shabby here, just doing a bit of damage with the MG. Finally got, well, actually I was going to say a little bit of damage with the LG. No LG damage as of yet, but I'm sure it will come at some stage.
Solid LG by Av3k, especially considering that he's aiming down. Those vertical shots are always more difficult to hit. Feels like every single time that cha1n gets any sort of advantage, gets solid footing on the map, Av3k is immediately back in the ring, challenging him, putting him once again on the back foot. And like you said, cha1n hasn't really been able to do much with the LG. Feels like every time he gets herded into the LG room, it ends up going bad, and ouch, 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 the turret! First gets the frag, and then cha1n is forced into a respawn right next to it. That is going to start the snowball. Still the turret up in the red room. cha1n knows he can't be there. And look at this LG lethal, that's murderous. 1,700 points of damage, more than half of all the damage Av3k has dealt so far has been with the lightning.
Yeah, Av3k, of course, got one of the best LGs in the game, period. Definitely in the top 5 from what we've seen in the past. And he's proving as to why. Here's the dual wield, but it's not going to take the bait. Just standing his ground at bottom rockets. Now going to back away again. Megs up in the next 13 seconds. Going to rotate all the way around. And does have the turret in play if he wants to throw another one down. But he's already got one in the LG. So he's waiting to see if cha1n does go through the TP. And then meet his maker with that turret. But it seems like he's taking quite a lot of damage. And yeah, it just seems like so far the cha1n to contest that mega wasn't worth it in the long run again. Last time he went for the mega, he got hit by a direct. This time around he got hit with more than 100 damage. So sadly for him, wasn't able to get anything better the second time round. Now Av3k has run out of rockets, but he's got the faithful LG, so he's alright. He's alright for him.
The turret really was the perfect pick for Av3k, strategy-wise, because cha1n hasn't been able to use the LG much at all. Has been going heavily for those close combat fights, which definitely isn't a bad strategy. But the turret has been ever present, always forcing cha1n to divide his attention, to deal with another source of damage, another distraction, making it so uncomfortable for him to get into these fights. And Av3k has been absolutely making the best of the situation.
Again, another direct onto that mega. 137 damage taken to try and contest it. Av3k always in position to make sure he can do the best of his ability in order to either try and grab the mega or at least make your life hell going for it. 14-4, 2 minutes left. It does look like it's going to be a 2-0 victory here for Av3k. As long as he doesn't do anything too silly here, Flea, but we're pretty sure Av3k's going to be alright.
I think so too. 2 minutes left to go for 10 frags. This is Corrupted Keep we're talking about, but even on this map, Lethal, I just don't see it happening. I think we can safely call the GG already. Av3k just has to play a defensive game, forcing cha1n into him. And every single time that cha1n has to contest with, the turret has to fight that thunderous LG. It just isn't going in his favor, so Av3k should be able to just walk away with this one.
Yeah, 9 frag deficit, not going to happen, mathematically impossible. cha1n is just going to do his best to keep the scores respectable and just think about what he's going to do going into that third and final map. And he's going to be pretty pleased with himself, considering it will be his server choice going to the third map. cha1n is just going to do his best, like I said, keep it as competitive as possible before we go into the next one here. And he's got a lot to think about as well. And the best thing was something you pointed out, Flew, is the fact that, yeah, just the guy needs to avoid those LG engagements on top mid against Av3k. And the funny thing is, he barely had the chance to even use the LG at this stage. 2220 damage with the LG to 234 for cha1n. That says it all.
Indeed, it does. Solid attempt by cha1n. Kept it a close game at the start at least, but ultimately, as happens so often in Corrupted Keep, it all went downhill from there and ended up being a very high scoring game, at least for one of the players. And Av3k's going to finish it off with a nice little combo kill right there. Now cha1n undoubtedly already thinking about the next map. Series is over and done. Total victory will have gone to Av3k, but still, Awoken awaits, and that is one chance for cha1n to get himself at least that first map win against Av3k that he so far has missed for the entirety of the Quake Pro League. This is the third time they're going up against each other, and so far cha1n has yet to secure a single map against the Polish Prince. So let's see if Awoken ends up being the arena where it all goes down.
It looks like it's going to continue to happen as well. 19 items for Av3k, cha1n 18. So cha1n didn't do a bad job contesting the items, but it's like I said before, the rockets, the angles which Av3k had contested each and every single time, he wasn't bothered about it. He probably knew that he was going to do more damage than not to stop cha1n from going for that mega anyway. So he did a fabulous job at it. One of the main things, of course, is contesting the LG and that heavy machine gun, so there's no way for him to inflict any kind of chip damage whilst he's got a huge stack, unless he had a super nail gun or just anything there, just a regular machine gun just to try and do something here. And it's like I said before, this is Av3k's game plan here, to make sure to deny you of his weapons, not only just the items here, especially on Corrupted Keep. And there you go, you know, we spoke about the damage previously, and the LG just says it itself.
Yeah, just look at that. That's 10 times the LG damage for Av3k over cha1n. Accuracy, perfectly tight, but the damage itself, everything but. So yeah, that really shows how powerful Av3k's control was, at least of that section of the map. And I think at least for the first, 6-7 minutes maybe, it felt like every single time that cha1n made a move for LG, it ended up costing him his life, because Av3k was so quick to punish it. And even if cha1n did get a hold of it, he was stuck, right? It's such a tricky part of the map. It's a corner where you're easily baited into, and then just kept up against the wall with no easy way out, especially when you're not, you know, playing a champion like Ranger that can orb. You've got someone that's fast, like Anarchy or Strog, right? So cha1n often found himself in some very tricky situations. Now, the final map of this series is going to be Awoken. Av3k will be running his trusty Visor, and cha1n will be playing Doomslayer. So it's a battle of information by Av3k, representing Team Endpoint, and cha1n is all about that mobility.
Yeah, the Endpoint man's looking for that 3-0 sweep, which doesn't surprise me in the slightest. And I must say as well, go back into that second map, his turret placements are so good. Always using it to contest the heavy if it was nearby. I swear, one of the turrets, or sorry, the same turret, of course, left it on the LG, like literally the entire time. So cha1n always knew that if he wanted the LG, he has to, one, go through it and probably take a few ticks of damage whilst going towards it. But the problem is the turret will also potentially stop you on your tracks in terms of speed. So you got that on top of it, the ticks of damage, and also the information which Av3k's going to have, where he can just be like, right, I know exactly where you are. I've got the heavy machine gun. You probably haven't, considering where I've positioned myself for the entirety of the game. And there's nothing he could have done. It's really good strategy, but at the same time, really annoying for cha1n. It must have been getting so frustrated, thinking to himself, what can he do in order to try at least put his foot down and try and at least put a stop to this, but he just literally couldn't. But
Yeah.
going to this further back, no, we are going to go onto Awoken. I know cha1n's also quite good on Awoken as well, but I don't think it's going to turn the tide enough considering the way Av3k's been playing so far.
Indeed. Now, one of the few upsides that I think cha1n does have is that Awoken is not the map where you can make the most out of that piercing sight ability, right? Because ultimately, it's still on the smaller size of maps, right? It's not as if we're playing on Ruins or Blood Covenant or Molten Falls, where you can use that ability from one side of the map and get complete overview of your opponent who may be nearly miles away and has no clue that you're even using the ability, right? So this is a much smaller map, much higher chance that cha1n is going to hear the piercing sight being used, and Av3k should also just generally have a better idea of where his opponent is already. So in terms of champion picks, I would favor the Doomslayer and that mobility. So I think that if there's any map where cha1n is going to get the victory, this is the one where the champion pick is the most in his favor.
Exactly that, and there's a reason why the Doomslayer is a very, very heavy meta pick as well. It doesn't matter if it's professional play, challenges, ranked, you know, Doom is a very, very good all-round champion to use on Awoken overall. But of course it does depend on the champion you do come up against also. And we are just going to be sticking with cha1n's POV for now. This distance here. Now going to be dropping straight over towards the heavy. We're looking to get a little bit more, but good LG damage once again. Av3k's just trying to run away with the tail between his legs, but that last rail shot isn't about to take him down, but Av3k certainly will take advantage of that and retaliate with a rail of his own.
Fair bit of damage being exchanged already. Both players exactly at 100 points of health. Av3k will be the first one to find some armor. Now cha1n is in the better position to take away the heavy, but his stack is lacking because Av3k has been eating up all the small green armors around the map. Good read from cha1n though. That's what I was talking about. Don't always need that piercing sight to get a very good idea of where your opponent is at.
Av3k now is going to continue to eat up these lights. Of course, from the amount of damage he's taken from cha1n previously. He's used that piercing sight just to gather enough information to decide what he wants to do next. And I think he lost track of where he was, so I just think he wanted to double check just to make sure before engaging again and going towards that mega. But Av3k now knows that he's going to be around a heavy area. Was assuming that he's going to rocket jump over, but decides not to in the end. First rail hit goes in favour of cha1n. cha1n was looking for a second, but knows a little bit too late. Misses the second, but Av3k's certainly not going to miss his at all in the slightest. But it does hit the crucial one here. It's going to continue keeping up with the LG here. 9 HP, and Av3k is able to at least get that second frag to his name. But still looking for a third though. Good use of his piercing sight again. But a lot of damage onto cha1n. Just trying to back him away. It is also delaying this heavy. But when we say delay, we mean almost keeping it in sync with the mega.
Loving the confidence from Av3k there as well. He obviously knew that cha1n couldn't possibly have a railgun based on where he spawned. So Av3k could just sit in the center of the map, just out of cha1n's range if he would pick up that LG. And just pepper him with the railgun. Wait patiently. Still making perfect use out of the piercing sight. Just to keep his opponent at bay. Now there comes the rocket jump. cha1n sent right back down. Trying to make the best out of that tri-bolt that he has, but still doesn't have the rail. So cha1n is lacking a crucial piece of his kit. Ah, that rocket, if that would have connected, that would have been a very nice way in for cha1n, but Av3k manages to avoid it. So far, still a pretty close game. Av3k, of course, has been able to take the lead, but hasn't been able to turn it into any sort of consistent control, and finds himself on the back foot now, actually. So it should be cha1n being able to take away at least a mega, make a move on the heavy as well.
Yeah, cha1n's actually done more damage than Av3k, only by a small amount. And finally, cha1n gets that first frag. He's been dying to get himself on the board here, considering the amount of work he's done. A little bit overzealous there, kind of been a bit too aggressive and just overstayed his welcome. Trying to hit one of those rail shots just to keep Av3k at bay. Perfect timing on that tri-bolt as well, which is going to deny Av3k that light from top mid, and does have the mega. So Av3k now got all the items to his name, a huge stack. Apologies, I did mean to deny cha1n going towards that light top mid. And now Av3k just again looking to see exactly what it's going to be up to. And the good thing is for Av3k is the fact that in terms of hourglasses, of course, cha1n isn't going to be worried about that at all, as Av3k can literally eat up all these hourglasses for days. 72 HP, uses the piercing sight to see if he drops down or rotates rounds. Finds the rotation, lovely stuff there, and does pick up the mega once more as we're approaching the halfway stage. 5-1 in favour of Av3k.
Indeed, the hourglasses are playing heavily in Av3k's favor. Oh, the LG! That really felt like a fight that cha1n should have won, especially since he got so much unreturned damage in Av3k's back. Oh! Okay, that's a freebie for cha1n. A little nudge. Barely a tickle of LG was enough to send Av3k, of course. But cha1n can't push in. The LG is just too strong, and here we go, Av3k. This is the Av3k aggression, leaving that item up just to hurt his opponent a bit more, just to hound cha1n till the edge of the map. This is the Av3k that we all know and love.
So there's indeed a little scuffle there around top mid and mega, but it looks like Av3k does come out on top of that little engagement. Thanks to that rail, but it was actually waiting for him to go past that TP, but didn't get the opportunity. But it looks like cha1n's making the right move. They're just backing away, having a GA agreement once again. Just go for that heavy in the mega, but it looks like Av3k's having absolutely none of it here. And really about to take him down. This is going to be that's crazy. Here's the jump pad. Literally dancing on death's door here. cha1n just trying to at least do something or get out of the position he's in, but at the same time, Av3k's doing a great job wasting lots of time because he's got that 4 frag lead.
cha1n may have had a lot of armor in that situation, but this is Quake. And armor does not just act like an extra health stack, no. It eats up a portion of the damage that you receive, while the rest still goes straight to your health. So cha1n, even though he had 100 points of armor after securing the heavy, left with just 15 health to work with, still put him in an extremely precarious situation where he couldn't move because one rail would still take him out. And now look at this LG Av3k, he is relentless lethal. The LG has really been his star weapon for the entirety of this map, even though his rail has been nothing to be ashamed of either. The LG pushes have just been so clean, so decisive.
Certainly has been indeed, but the rails have come out trumps here for cha1n on a number of occasions. 4 frag deficit, has time to play. Try and claw this back and close the gap if he can, but he's going to have to take some ridiculous risks here. That's one of them. That's going to help himself out massively here. 3 frag deficit now. 2 minutes and 20 left on the clock, but he has to keep these frags as clean as possible in order to try and tie this up. 64% accuracy with the rail there for cha1n. 46% for Av3k, but it's been his LG, his trademark weapon, as you rightly mentioned earlier. That Av3k has been relying on for the entirety of this series. cha1n misses the first one. Decides to go at LG, back to the rockets to see if he can at least do something here. That's a little bit dumb, but hits that next rail and decides just to let them have that heavy, whilst cha1n does pick up the mega. But time's a ticking here, Fleet. 90 seconds left on the clock. cha1n needs to do something.
Av3k doesn't have rockets yet. Of course, it's also the weapon you don't really need as much against Doomslayer. The double jump makes rockets very difficult and tricky to use. He's got the LG, he's got the rail, it's everything that he needs. And he's absolutely not going to expose himself to any unnecessary damage. I also like that Av3k is holding out the tri-bolt right there. This is because both the lightning gun and the railgun emit a slight noise. They have a humming sound to them when you hold them. Your opponent can listen out for that and determine your position based on the weapon that you're holding out. And that is why he was switching to the tribal, to make sure that cha1n wouldn't know exactly where he was hiding. But then the moment that you hear cha1n get that rocket ready, pick up the heavy, he immediately switches to the LG to stop a potential rocket jump. And now cha1n, this is just desperation. The Berserk gets popped. GGs are called in chat already. Well played by both of these gentlemen, but it is Av3k who secures the 3-0. The Polish prince clearly showing that his position near the top of the leaderboard is far from undeserved. Well played, Av3k. Good showing by cha1n, but his 2-win streak will end here.
Certainly will indeed. As Av3k, even when cha1n was in berserk mode, just shows how good the LG from Av3k is. It really is a pain in the backside sometimes. But that's going to be it though. That's going to be a 3-0 victory here for Av3k. 10-4 on the final map, going on to Awoken. I don't think we expected anything less considering what we saw on that second map on Corrupted Keep. And the item though, 13 items for cha1n, but Av3k had a hell of a lot more, as I just missed out on that last glimpse in terms of the stats here, but we'll go through that momentarily anyway. But Av3k looking really strong and really pristine at the moment.
Indeed he does. I mean, he's coming off quite the streak, right? He's beaten Zeniku, he's beaten Razy, Maxter, Dramis, Sparty. So far he has lost to Rafa, Kilson and Nasva. And now he gets to add cha1n to his list of wins for this season. Now this has been an interesting day. 3 zeros across the board, Lethal. What does that tell us about the final match between Dramis and Kilson?
Well, this is it really, isn't it? You know, for Kilson, he's only had 1 series lost the entire time, and Dramis is definitely one of those people who can make it 2, depending on how he does. But the problem is he did lose to cha1n last week 2-1, so it's a number of things we'll be talking about very shortly here. But going through the stats once again, you can see 49% rail there for cha1n, 44% for Av3k, but the 42% LG is just ridiculous in itself. Well played for him all day long. Yeah, literally the entire series, he was nothing short of spectacular once again. And to be fair, do we expect anything less from him against a player like cha1n as well, let's be honest?
No, I think Av3k has done exactly what everyone was expecting for him. At least the two of us, we predicted it correctly. Our predictions have been on point for every single map of the day, but indeed, Av3k proving to be a little too strong for cha1n, too hot to handle, as it were. But indeed, that lightning gun, to me, that's really what stood out the most. Every single map, the LG damage difference was huge, massively favoring Av3k every single time. And I don't really know if that was something to do with a deliberate decision by cha1n that he felt early on, like, you know, I can't go toe-to-toe when it comes to the LG battles against Av3k, so I'm deliberately going to forgo that weapon and focus much more on rockets and rails and sometimes even the shotgun. Or if it was just Av3k being so overwhelmingly powerful that, well, cha1n had no choice but to kind of abandon his initial plan and play around the LG rather than make it a focal part of his playstyle.
Yeah, it's interesting to say the least. And even then, though, for Av3k, you know, talk about his LG and the aim skill behind it, how good his tracking is. I think at least a third of the players in this Pro League will probably, you know, debate taking those engagements against Av3k time and time again. And it's not really too much of a surprise that you've seen how accurate and flawless he is with the LG, no matter what kind of position or circumstance or the verticality of it. And it's just ridiculous what he can really do. But that does mean, though, Fleet, 3 matches down. We've got 1 left to go. It's the one we've all been waiting for here. It's going to be Dramis versus Kilson, and we'll see you in just a few moments before we get that underway.